The morning light streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the table set for two. I stood at the stove, stirring the last of the coffee, feeling the familiar rhythm of my routine settle around me like a cozy blanket. But today, as I listened to Nathan's footsteps echoing down the hallway, a sense of something different lingered in the air. I couldn't shake the feeling that today might not be just another ordinary day. "Don't forget to take your lunch," I called out, trying to infuse a little cheer into our morning ritual. "Thanks, Alara." "You're the best," he replied, flashing a quick smile before slipping on his jacket. The door clicked shut behind him, and I was left alone in the stillness of the house. I looked around, taking in the photos on the walls, the smiles frozen in time, the moments we had shared. But as I glanced at the clock, I felt the weight of monotony settle back in. What was missing? Just as I poured myself a cup of coffee, the phone rang, slicing through my thoughts like a knife. I hesitated, glancing at the caller ID. It was an unfamiliar number. My heart raced slightly. What if it was something important? Or worse, what if it was a telemarketer? "Hello?" I answered, my voice steady but curious. "Hi, is this Alara?" The voice on the other end was smooth, warm. It sent a small shiver down my spine. "Yes, this is she." "Hey, it's Jake. I'm the mechanic who worked on your car last week. I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all," I said, surprised at how easy it felt to talk to him. "What can I do for you?" "I actually need a referral for a part. I thought you might know someone who could help me out." There was something in his tone, a hint of vulnerability that drew me in. "Sure, I can help with that. Would you like to meet up to discuss it?" "Yeah, that would be great. How about later this afternoon?" As we set a time to meet, my heart fluttered in a way it hadn't in a long time. Was I really excited about seeing a mechanic? I pushed the feeling aside, but it lingered in the corners of my mind. Later that afternoon, I found myself tidying up the living room, my nerves buzzing with anticipation. Why was I so eager to meet him? When Jake arrived, I felt a rush of unexpected energy. He was taller than I had imagined, with an easy smile that seemed to light up the room. "Thanks for meeting me," he said, his eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. "Of course. I'm glad to help." As we talked about the car, I realized that I was laughing more than I had in months. It felt good, refreshing, and I found myself leaning in, drawn to him in a way that both thrilled and terrified me. But then, as our conversation deepened, I felt a pang of guilt. Nathan's face flashed in my mind, the way he would smile when I surprised him with dinner, the warmth of his embrace at night. I quickly pushed it aside, trying to focus on the moment. But the more I talked to Jake, the more I felt something awakening inside me, something I thought had faded into the background of my life. As we finished our discussion and I prepared to say goodbye, my heart raced with conflicting emotions. I could feel the thrill of connection with Jake pulling me in one direction, while my loyalty to Nathan anchored me in another. "Thanks again for your help, Alara," Jake said, his voice low and inviting. "I really appreciate it." "Anytime," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. As I closed the door behind him, I stood there, grappling with the whirlwind of feelings inside me. Could I really let myself feel this way? Was it wrong to enjoy this connection? The thrill of Jake's charm mixed with the weight of my commitment to Nathan left me in a turmoil of confusion. I took a deep breath, knowing that I stood at a crossroads, and the choice I would make could change everything. As the days passed since my unexpected meeting with Jake, I found myself lost in thoughts about our encounter. The laughter we shared echoed in my mind, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had been too quick to dismiss the feelings that stirred within me. My marriage to Nathan had become a routine, and the spark we once had seemed like a distant memory. I spent my mornings just as I always did, but something had shifted. I couldn't ignore the emotional distance that had crept between Nathan and me. We sat across from each other at breakfast, the silence stretching between us like an unbridgeable gap. I sipped my coffee, watching him read the newspaper, his brow furrowed in concentration. How did we get here? I thought, wishing I could reach out and close that gap. Everything okay? Nathan asked suddenly, looking up from his paper. His voice was warm but laced with concern. Yeah, just thinking, I replied, forcing a smile. About the weekend. Maybe we could do something fun? Sounds good. Maybe a hike, he suggested, his eyes lighting up at the thought. Sure. I answered, but my mind was elsewhere. I couldn't shake the memory of Jake's smile, the way he made me feel alive again. As the week went on, Jake's visits became more frequent. Each time he came by to check on my car, he lingered a little longer. We shared jokes, stories, and little glimpses of our lives. I found myself looking forward to those moments, the thrill of his presence igniting a spark in me that I thought had died. One afternoon, as we were standing in the garage, Jake leaned against the workbench, a playful grin on his face. You know, I think your car has a personality, he joked, feigning a serious tone. It's a little stubborn, just like its owner. I laughed, the sound bubbling up from my chest. Stubborn? Me? I replied, feigning offense. I prefer to call it determined. He chuckled, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Determined, huh? I like that. Maybe that's why we get along so well. In that moment, I felt a connection that went beyond friendship. I caught myself lingering in his gaze, the warmth of his smile wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. But then, the guilt washed over me like a cold wave. What about Nathan? Jake, I started, my heart racing. The words caught in my throat, and I hesitated. What's on your mind? He asked, his expression shifting to one of concern. I don't want to overstep any boundaries, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm married, you know? He nodded, the smile fading slightly. I get it, Ilara. But you deserve to feel happy, too. His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I felt the weight of my emotions pulling me in different directions. On one hand, I had my love for Nathan, steady and familiar. On the other, there was this undeniable attraction to Jake, a connection that made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. As the days turned into nights, I found myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with my conscience. I loved Nathan, but the thought of Jake consumed my thoughts. The guilt was a constant companion, but the allure of Jake's charm was intoxicating. One evening, I found myself texting Jake, my fingers hovering over the screen. Can we talk? I typed, a mix of excitement and fear swirling inside me. Of course. When? He replied almost instantly. Tomorrow after work? Sounds perfect. Can't wait. I felt a flutter of anticipation in my stomach. What was I doing? I was crossing a line that I had promised myself I wouldn't cross. But the thought of seeing Jake again felt like a breath of fresh air, a chance to escape the monotony that had taken over my life. The next day, as I prepared for our meeting, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was standing on the edge of something dangerous yet thrilling. The moment I stepped out of the house, I felt a rush of adrenaline. I was torn between the love I had for Nathan and the intoxicating allure of Jake. As I walked toward the cafe where we agreed to meet, I couldn't help but wonder how far I was willing to go. Would I really risk it all for the thrill of this new connection? My heart raced with anticipation, but the guilt lingered, reminding me of the love I had built with Nathan. Yet, as I entered the cafe and saw Jake waiting for me, I felt the thrill of temptation draw me in. The choice I had to make loomed over me, and I couldn't help but wonder which path I would choose. As I sat across from Jake in the cozy cafe, the world outside faded to a blur. The warm aroma of coffee filled the air, but all I could think about was the man sitting in front of me. He looked so relaxed, his smile contagious, and for a moment, I forgot about the weight of my choices. Hey, I'm glad you came, Jake said, leaning forward, his eyes sparkling with mischief. Me too, I replied, my heart racing. I've been thinking a lot about our conversations. Good thoughts, I hope? He chuckled, but there was an intensity in his gaze that made my stomach flutter. Mostly, I said, trying to sound lighthearted. But the truth was, I was overwhelmed. I felt the pull of temptation stronger than ever, and I was terrified of where it might lead. We talked about everything and nothing, our laughter filling the space between us. But as the conversation flowed, I felt a shift in the air. The playful banter transformed into something deeper. I caught myself staring at his lips, wondering what it would feel like to kiss him. Ilara, Jake said, breaking my train of thought. What do you want from this? His question hung in the air, heavy with meaning. My heart raced as I searched for the right words. I just want to feel something again, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Something like what? He asked, his expression serious now. I hesitated, my mind racing. I guess I want to feel alive. I haven't felt that in a long time. Jake leaned closer, his voice dropping to a soft murmur. You deserve to feel that, Ilara. Life is too short to be stuck in something that doesn't make you happy. His words struck a chord deep within me. I thought about Nathan and the life we had built together. But lately, it felt more like a routine than a romance. But what about Nathan? I whispered, the guilt creeping back into my heart. Forget about him for a moment, Jake urged, his eyes never leaving mine. Think about what you want. That was the problem. I didn't know what I wanted anymore. My heart was torn in two different directions, and the thrill of being with Jake felt like stepping into a world I had longed for but feared to enter. Jake, I started, but before I could finish, he reached across the table, his hand brushing against mine. The touch sent a jolt of electricity through me, igniting a fire I had almost forgotten. Just let go for a second, he encouraged, his voice low and inviting. In that moment, the world outside faded completely. I leaned in closer, and before I knew it, our lips met. It was soft at first, a gentle exploration that quickly turned into something more intense. My heart raced as I melted into the kiss, every worry and fear evaporating in an instant. But as the kiss deepened, guilt crashed over me like a tidal wave. What was I doing? I was betraying Nathan, the man I had spent so many years with. The thrill of the moment was intoxicating, but the reality of my actions weighed heavily on my conscience. I pulled away, breathless, and looked into Jake's eyes. We shouldn't have done that, I said, panic rising in my chest. Why not? He asked, his expression a mix of confusion and desire. You felt it too, didn't you? Yes, but, I stammered, struggling to find the right words. I'm married, Jake. I can't just forget that. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, clearly frustrated. I know, but what about your happiness? What about what you really want? I closed my eyes, feeling tears prick at the corners. I don't want to hurt Nathan, I said, my voice shaky. But I can't deny how I feel when I'm with you. Jake's expression softened, and he reached for my hand again. Ilara, you are not alone in this. I care about you, and I want to help you find that happiness. His words pierced through the chaos in my mind, and for a moment, I felt the weight lift. But deep down, I knew I was standing at a crossroads. I could either continue down this path of temptation or face the reality of my life with Nathan. I need time to think, I finally said, pulling my hand away. This is all too much. Jake nodded, understanding flashing across his face. Take all the time you need. Just know that I'm here. As I left the cafe, my heart was heavy with confusion and guilt. The kiss lingered on my lips, a reminder of the line I had crossed. I felt alive, yes, but at what cost? The thrill of Jake's charm was intoxicating, but the impending heartbreak for Nathan loomed like a dark cloud over my head. I was caught in a web of desire, and I wasn't sure how to escape it. The rain poured down, drenching everything in sight. I stood by the window, watching the droplets race each other down the glass. Each drop felt like a reminder of the storm brewing inside me. I held my breath as I stared into the darkened street, my mind swirling with the choices I had made. Tonight, I was at a breaking point. I couldn't keep living this double life. Every laugh I shared with Jake echoed in my head, mixing with the memories of Nathan's warmth and the family we built together. I felt lost, caught between two worlds that pulled me in different directions. But the thrill of my connection with Jake was like a siren's call, drawing me deeper into the unknown. Just then, my phone buzzed on the table, startling me. It was a message from Jake. *, can we talk? I need to see you. *, my heart raced at the thought of him. I knew what I had to do. I needed to end this. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision settle in. I typed back, *okay. Meet me at the cafe. *. As I made my way there, the rain soaked through my coat, but I hardly noticed. The cold water was nothing compared to the chill of guilt that wrapped around my heart. I arrived at the cafe, shaking but determined. I spotted Jake at our usual table, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. "Hey, Ilara," he said, standing as I approached. There was a warmth in his smile that made my heart flutter, but I steeled myself against it. "Jake, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm but trembling slightly. He frowned, sensing the seriousness in my tone. "What's going on?" I took a seat, my hands clasped tightly in my lap. "I've been thinking about us, about everything." Jake leaned closer, concern etched on his face. "I don't like the sound of this. Did I do something wrong?" "No, it's not you," I replied, shaking my head. "It's me. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep seeing you like this." His expression shifted, confusion and hurt flashing across his features. "But I thought we had something special. You said you wanted to feel alive again." "I did, and I do," I said, my voice cracking. "But I also love Nathan. I can't betray him like this. It's wrong." Jake looked down, running a hand through his hair. "So, you're just going to walk away? After everything we've shared?" I swallowed hard, tears stinging my eyes. "I have to. I can't keep living this lie. It feels good, but it's tearing me apart inside." "Ilara, please," he said, his voice low and pleading. "You don't have to make this choice. You can have both." I shook my head, feeling the weight of my decision settle heavily on my chest. "No, I can't. I have to be honest with myself and with Nathan. I owe him that much." Jake's expression hardened, but I saw the hurt behind his eyes. "So, this is it? Just like that?" "This is it," I confirmed, my heart breaking with each word. "I wish things were different, but I can't keep doing this to myself or to him." He sighed, looking defeated. "I care about you, Ilara. I thought you felt the same way." "I do care about you, Jake," I said, my voice trembling. "But I can't let this go any further. I need to end it now, before it gets even more complicated." Silence hung between us, heavy and charged. I could see the struggle in his eyes, and it broke my heart. But I knew this was the right thing to do. "I'll walk you home," he finally said, his voice softening. "No, you don't have to," I replied, feeling the sadness wash over me. "I want to," he insisted, standing up. "Please, let me." As we left the cafe, the rain had slowed to a drizzle, but the storm inside me raged on. I felt a sense of relief, but also a deep sadness. I was about to confront Nathan with the truth, and I knew it could shatter our world. Walking side by side, I knew I was steeling myself for the hardest conversation of my life. I could feel the weight of my decision as we walked in silence. I wasn't sure what would happen next, but I knew I had to face it. When we reached my front door, I turned to Jake, my heart heavy with emotion. "Thank you for everything," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, his eyes searching mine. I'll always care about you, Ilara. Just remember that. I stepped back, feeling the finality of our goodbye wash over me. I will. As I closed the door behind me, I took a deep breath, preparing myself for the confrontation that lay ahead. I knew that honesty was the only path forward, no matter how painful it might be. My heart raced as I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chair across from me. Nathan would be home any minute. I had practiced what I would say, but now that the moment was here, my mind felt blank. The weight of my secret pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. When I heard the front door open, I instinctively straightened my back. Nathan entered, shaking off the rain from his coat. He looked tired but happy, a smile spreading across his face when he saw me. "Hey, Ilara. You're home early," he said, his voice warm. "Hi, Nathan." I tried to smile back, but it felt forced. He walked over and kissed me on the forehead. "What's up? You look a little tense." I took a deep breath, feeling the lump in my throat. "We need to talk." His smile faded, replaced by concern. "Talk? About what?" I gestured for him to sit down. As he took his seat, I felt the butterflies in my stomach turn into a storm. "It's about us, about me." Nathan's brow furrowed. "Ilara, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" I swallowed hard, the words feeling heavy in my mouth. "I haven't been honest with you. There's something I need to tell you, and it's hard." He leaned in, his eyes searching mine. "Just tell me. Whatever it is, we can face it together." I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that our love could conquer anything. But I knew this was different. I've been seeing someone else. The silence that followed felt like a hammer hitting glass. Nathan's face went pale, his eyes widening in disbelief. "What do you mean? Seeing someone else? Who?" I felt tears prick at my eyes. "It's Jake, the mechanic. He's been coming by more often, and I let things go too far." His expression shifted from shock to hurt. "You let things go too far? Ilara, how could you?" I could hear the pain in his voice, and it crushed me. I didn't mean for it to happen. I thought I was just trying to feel alive again. But I was wrong. I love you, Nathan. I really do. But I got caught up in something I shouldn't have. He leaned back in his chair, shaking his head slowly. "I can't believe this. After everything we've built together, how could you betray me like this?" I wanted to reach out to him, to comfort him, but I felt paralyzed by guilt. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I should have stopped it before it got out of hand." Nathan closed his eyes, his hand running through his hair. "You should have told me, Ilara. We could have worked through this. But now I don't know what to think." I felt the tears fall down my cheeks. "I know. I wish I could take it back. I wish I could erase everything." He opened his eyes, and the hurt in them was almost too much to bear. "What do you want me to do with this information? How am I supposed to react?" I could see the pain radiating off him, and it shattered my heart. "I just want you to know the truth. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, if ever. I just couldn't keep lying to you." "What about us?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What does this mean for our marriage?" I stared at him, feeling the gravity of my choices. "I don't know. I hope we can find a way to heal from this. But I understand if you can't." Nathan stood up suddenly, running a hand over his face as if trying to process everything. "I need time, Ilara. I need to think. Please, don't go," I pleaded, my voice breaking. "I don't want to lose you." He paused, looking back at me, pain etched across his face. "You already broke my trust, Ilara. I just don't know how we can come back from this." As he walked away, I felt my heart shatter into a million pieces. I had faced the truth, but I was left with the terrifying realization that I might have lost the love of my life. The silence in the room was deafening, and all I could do was sit there, feeling more alone than ever. I knew I had to be honest, but honesty came at a heavy price. I was left questioning whether our love could survive this betrayal or if it would forever change everything we had built together. The days following our confrontation felt like an endless fog, wrapping around me tightly. After Nathan walked away, I was left alone with my thoughts. I stared blankly at the kitchen table, the same table where we shared so many meals and dreams. Now, it felt like a prison, a reminder of my mistakes. I tried to reach out to Nathan, but he needed space. Each time I heard his footsteps in the hallway, my heart would leap, hoping he might come to talk. Instead, he would slip into his room, shutting the door softly behind him. It felt like a barrier between us, one I had built with my own betrayal. One evening, I found myself sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the flickering television. I couldn't focus on the show. My mind was racing with thoughts of Nathan and Jake. Memories flooded my mind, Nathan's laughter, our late-night talks, and the warmth of his embrace. I missed him so much. But I also thought about the rush I felt with Jake, the thrill that pulled me away from my routine life. Why did I let it go this far? I whispered to myself, tears streaming down my face. I should have stopped it before it started. The guilt gnawed at me. I knew I had to face the consequences of my actions, but the thought of losing Nathan felt unbearable. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside me. I had to figure out who I was now, who I wanted to be. The next morning, I made my way to the coffee shop we used to visit. I hoped that being in our favorite spot might spark some clarity. As I sat at the small table by the window, I couldn't help but replay our memories there. I remembered the way Nathan would always order the same thing, a black coffee and a blueberry muffin. You know what they say, he'd tease, why change perfection? I ordered a coffee, trying to distract myself from the heaviness in my heart. As I stirred the cream into my cup, I spotted a couple at a nearby table, laughing and sharing a pastry. A pang of jealousy hit me. I wanted that joy back. I wanted to feel whole again. As I took a sip of my coffee, I pulled out my phone. I hesitated, my finger hovering over Nathan's contact. What could I say? Hey, I miss you? It felt so trivial compared to what we were facing. Just send a message, I urged myself. Be honest. You need to talk. I typed a quick message, can we talk? I want to figure things out, I hit send, holding my breath. Minutes passed like hours, and just when I thought he wouldn't reply, my phone buzzed. I'll be home at 6. I stared at the screen, a mix of hope and dread swirling inside me. Part of me wanted to run away, but I knew I had to stand my ground. We needed to talk, to face the truth together. At 6, I prepared myself, pacing the living room while waiting for him. I could hear the clock ticking, each second dragging on as I thought about what I would say. When I finally heard the key turn in the lock, my stomach flipped. Nathan entered, his face still showing signs of hurt. Hey, he said softly, closing the door behind him. Hey, I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. He walked into the living room and sat on the couch, keeping a distance between us. So, you wanted to talk? I nodded, feeling the weight of my words pressing against my chest. I know things have been hard since everything happened. I just want you to know that I'm really sorry. I never meant to hurt you. Nathan looked away, his expression unreadable. You say you're sorry, but it doesn't change what you did, Ilara. I know, I said, feeling tears well up again. But I want to understand what we can do now. I want to try. I love you, Nathan. His eyes met mine, filled with pain. I don't know if love is enough right now. It feels like everything has changed. I understand, I replied, my heart aching. But I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild what we had. I want to make it right. Silence hung between us, thick and heavy. Finally, he sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't know how long this will take. Trust doesn't come back overnight. I'm ready to be patient, I promised, my voice steady. I just want the chance to show you that I can be better. Nathan looked at me, uncertainty in his eyes. It's going to be hard, Ilara. You broke something that can't be easily fixed. I know, I whispered, feeling the reality of my choices. But I believe we can find a way through this. I believe in us. He sighed again, a mix of frustration and longing. I need time to think about it. I'll wait, I said, my heart aching but hopeful. I'll always wait for you. As he nodded slowly, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Love was complicated, and healing would take time, but I was ready to fight for what we had lost. Share this story if you believe that love can overcome even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when an unexpected visit changed your life, and subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories like this one.